You doing? Welcome to Growth Habits with Ngozi. I am your personal guide on the journey of growth. How is your day going so far? Good morning if it is morning where you are. Good evening if it is evening where you are. How are we doing? How is everything with us? I trust we are doing well. Let me just do a quick round to ensure that we are live. So far, I cannot see what's happening. Oh my, I can see. I can see an error. Let's see if we might have to restart this session. Okay, I think we're good now. I think we're good. Um, yeah, in the setup, I didn't set it up to be live on Facebook. So my apologies. Okay, we are live on Instagram. Okay, that's more like it. Yeah, one of those things that happens. Let me check on LinkedIn. Okay, we are live on LinkedIn, and let me check on YouTube. All right, we are live on YouTube. Okay. Whew. Welcome once again. Welcome once again to Growth Habits with Ngozi. I am your personal guide on this journey of growth. As I said, how are you doing? How has it been with you after our last session last week when we concluded our series in the month of May? How has it been with you? Please do share with me your takeaways from these sessions. Let me know what you learned. Let me know what spoke to you. Just let me know. Let me know. I'm interested in knowing how you are finding these sessions. Yeah, I'm interested in knowing how you're finding these sessions. Okay, so from the beginning of this year, we have tried to touch so many aspects of growth. Happy New Month for those of some parts of the world they don't bother with Happy New Month. Um, they really don't. But I know that in Nigeria we are about saying Happy New Month to people, celebrating moving into a new month. So Happy New Month to everyone, wherever you may be. If you're watching this on the replay and it's maybe you're watching it in the middle of the month, but this is the second day of June 2026. So happy new month. Um, Over the past several months, we've tried to focus, as I was saying, on building ourselves from the inside out. In April, we were in our reinvention season and we tried to evolve without losing ourselves. So that was what we talked about basically in the month of April. That was our focus in the month of April. We learned that growth requires our outgoing old versions of ourselves, renewing our minds, reinventing without apology, and becoming unrecognizable in a healthy way. Those are the things we looked at in the month of April. Our emphasis in that month was identity, who you are becoming, who we are becoming. And then in May, we shifted our focus to strategic thinking and decision mastery. That was what we looked at in the month of May. We explored the cost of poor decisions, how vision should guide our decisions, delayed gratification, and long term thinking, building a strategic life rather than a reactive life. That was what we talked about last week, building a strategic life rather than a reactive life. And the emphasis in that month was decision making. Once you have, you've known who you are, you've settled the issue of identity, you now need to begin to make decisions to cause you or to help you walk in line or in alignment with that identity that you have identified or that you have aligned with. So the emphasis was decision making. How do you think? How do you choose? That was what we looked at in the month of May. And in this month of June, we're moving into a different and a very important dimension of our growth. Yes, identity is essential because the identity, after, because after your identity is influence. Once you have understood who you are, the next thing is influence. After you've built up yourself, you have grown, the next thing is to step into a level of leadership. It might not be, leadership like in the workplace kind of leadership, but a level of leadership, being able to lead yourself and also others. And whether we really realize it or not, but we all carry a level of influence, whoever we may be, wherever we may be on our journey. We all carry a level of influence. It might not be because of a title that you have, it might not be because of the position that you're in, it might not be because of maybe a platform that you are on, but every day, in your everyday life, we see that people are influenced by how we think, people are influenced by how we speak, people are influenced by how we behave, people are influenced by just how we carry ourselves. People are influenced by all that. And that is what we're going to be looking at in this month of June. Our general theme for the month of June is influence, power, and personal authority. That is what we're going to be looking at the month of June. And we're just going to basically learn how to own the room without raising our voice. Yeah, we're going to learn how to own the room without raising our voice. So that is our focus um, in this month of June. We're not going to be looking at how to dominate. We're not, it's not really about domination or anything. It's not about manipulation either. But it's not even about becoming louder, truly, than everyone else. But it's basically learning how to develop presence, the kind of presence that inspires confidence from people, commands respect, and creates impact. That is basically what we're going to be looking at in this month of June: influence, power, and personal authority. And we're starting today by looking at executive presence. That's our topic for today: executive presence. Have you ever noticed that some people, when they walk into a room, they command, it's not even attention I want to say, but they do command attention. Just by walking into the room, they have not spoken, they have not said anything, they have not done any other thing except to walk into a room. They just command attention. And there are some people that is on first meeting, you just trust them. They gain your trust without really saying much, without really doing much. And what is at the back of this is executive presence, which is what we want to um, look at today. And what is that executive presence? What does it really mean? Executive presence is the ability to project confidence, to project credibility, to project composure, and to project character in a way that inspires trust and confidence. Executive presence is the ability to project confidence, credibility, composure, and character in a way that inspires trust and confidence in the people that you meet, in the people that you come into contact with. It's that quality that causes people to believe that This person knows what they're doing, first of all, even if you really don't. Honestly, it causes people to believe that you can be trusted. This person can be trusted. This person can lead. So that is executive presence. It's some people. Um, So people consider executive presence to be like the intersection, the place where competence, confidence, character, communication meet. So you can see that it's not a small issue, it's not a small matter. Carrying executive presence. Of course, presence is just, the impression people experience when they interact with you. That's just the presence we're talking about. The impression people go away with when they interact with you includes your body language, your attitude, your emotional stability, your communication style, your energy. So that is presence. And if you remember that in our theme for the month, we mentioned personal authority. Let me just define all those things from the beginning. Personal authority is the influence that comes from credibility, integrity, competence, self mastery, rather than positional power. The authority, the influence that comes from credibility, integrity, competence, and self mastery, rather than positional power. So you don't need to be the boss to exercise or exude personal authority. It's an authority that people willingly recognize. Not because they have to, because if you are in the position of authority, they have to recognize you have it. But this one is even without being a position of authority, they recognize this. They choose to recognize your personal authority. And what is influence? Because I said I'm just going to define all the uh, basic things we need for this month. Influence is the ability to affect the thinking, the behavior, the decisions, or the perceptions of others. That is influence. So, what kind of influence are you carrying? That's what we need to ask ourselves, and that is what we are trying to determine in this month, and beginning with the topic for today, executive presence. And executive presence begins to speak before you do. That is the key thing to executive presence. Before you open your mouth, is already speaking something, is already telling people something. So it begins to speak before you do. Um, it's not about speaking well because you have not said anything yet. You have not said anything. It's your presence before words. That is what I want to emphasize on. Executive presence is your presence before words, before you even say anything. What do you present? What do people perceive? Um, you know that when you meet someone normally, when you meet someone, within the first few seconds of meeting the person, you're already forming impressions about the person. You're already deciding the kind of person you think they are. You're already making, forming your impressions. And this is just how it is with human beings. And we base those in will I say, yeah, those first impressions we have of people, we base it off of the level of confidence they exude. We decide whether they appear trustworthy or not. We decide whether they are competent or not. We decide if this person is capable of leading or not from the first impression we have of them. I mean, it looks almost unfair, but it is true. It's what we all do. We all do it. We form those initial impressions. Whether that remains is a different thing because, I mean, by the time you interact with the person, you can now either confirm that yes, your first impression is right, or that your first impression is wrong. But we all do form those first impressions even before we have any kind of meaningful conversation with a person. So before anyone hears our message, have to experience our presence. In fact, they do experience our presence before they hear any message that we have to give, before they can truly evaluate um, our expertise, what we know. They observe our demeanor, the way that we carry ourselves. That is why this executive presence is important. Is important because people experience you before they even evaluate your competence. They experience your confidence and all that before they get the opportunity to truly evaluate your competence. It's not, executive presence is not about charisma. I'm not talking about charisma here today. It's about character. It's about character. Um, Charisma is like personal magnetism, it attracts attention, yes, but executive presence inspires confidence. So you didn't just attract people's attention as you walked into the room, you inspired them to put confidence in you, in your abilities, in what you can do. And yet you have not said a word. You have not said a word. I don't know. I'm sure we have experienced this where you meet someone and you're like, wow. The person has not said anything to you, but just the way they carry themselves, excuse me, just the way they carry themselves, they just exude confidence. This is not being cocky, this is not being proud, but they just exude confidence. You know that without hearing this person, you conclude that this person knows whatever they are going to say, they know it. They know what they're about to talk about. I've attended like a program, and the person that was speaking, as he just stood up, the way he just carried himself to that stage, I was ready to learn from this person because I just knew that this person has something. Now, I've also experienced where that first impression failed because by the time the person began to speak, try. By the time the person began to speak, my God, my God. But I've also had the other side where when the person now spoke, oh yes, I understood why I had that initial impression. So we're not, this impression must, like I said, by the time you now speak, the person has the option to gauge if truly that presence you carried matches. So I've seen situations where it matched and where it did not. The key thing for you is not just to carry this executive presence. You have to make sure that the thing is there. It is there. So that when you speak, people don't be like, oh my God, why did I ever think this person knew what they were going to talk about? But this happened to me years ago, just when I was just starting off in accounting. And I don't know what it was, but something in the way I carried myself made everybody in my office then feel this girl knows what she's talking about. Yet I was struggling, truly. It's not as if I had zero knowledge of accounting. I studied accounting in school, so I had some knowledge, but I was even still, as at that time, struggling with um, what I learned and how it applies practically. But obviously, I'm saying obviously because people told me, I carried a sense of, I know what I'm doing. Even if I don't understand everything, even if I did not understand everything, I had an idea and I was ready to extend that idea. I wasn't, going to be stuck at I just have an idea. I was ready to take it to the next level also. So yes, um, that's what the executive presence kind of looks like. That's an example where well, I think it comes from you really knowing who you are, really. When you understand who you are, you understand where you're coming from, you understand where you're going. You don't have it all figured out. Yes. but at least you have an idea. And it shows. It shows people can pick it up. So, what are the foundations of this executive presence? One is poise. You remain calm under pressure. It doesn't matter that everything seems to be falling apart around you. You are able to maintain a level of calm under pressure. Poise. One. Two is respect. You treat others with dignity regardless of their status. Regardless of their status, you treat people with respect. When you exhibit this, people begin to also take that from you. So, poise, respect, emotional intelligence, being able to read the room, being able to understand people, being able to know how to react, when not to react. Emotional intelligence, the foundations of this executive presence we are talking about: poise, respect, emotional intelligence, self-awareness. Remember that I said is a function of identity. Self-awareness, you understand your strengths, you have an idea of your weaknesses, your blind spots, you have an idea of it. You're not ignorant to your weaknesses. I've seen people that know their strengths, but they're completely ignorant to their weaknesses. No, you need to be able to also have an idea of your weaknesses and your blind spots. The next thing, the next foundation is excellence. You're prepared, you're competent. So, this is where, like I said, after that first impression, by the time you now speak, people should be able to say, okay, yeah, the impression matches. So, you have to be prepared, you have to be competent. Excellence. Excellence is key. Excellence. Non-verbal communication. Once again, because executive presence is before you say a word, the way you carry yourself, your body language, your posture, eye contact. See this eye contact. Because I think because of the way we are raised in Nigeria, many of us cannot maintain eye contact with people because we are told you don't look your elders in the eye, that kind of thing. So we don't, even in professional settings, we find it difficult to maintain eye contact. This is one thing that I personally, I know I do very well. I will look you in your eye. I remember an interview I went for years ago. This was at the embassy, American embassy then. And they were just, honestly, I just felt they were wasting my time. I looked this man in the face and I told him, first of all, throughout the interview, I've maintained eye contact. I never, this thing we do, we look away, looking every other place except at the person's face. No, I maintained eye contact, which one gives the impression that I'm being truthful. Because really, it's difficult to lie when you're looking in somebody's eyes. It's actually difficult. Some people have mastered it, but it's difficult. It's a difficult skill to master. Be looking somebody in their eyes and lie is hard. So I maintained eye contact completely throughout the interview. And then when I felt they were wasting my time, I looked this man in the eye and I told him straight, that you guys are wasting my time. I come all the way from Port Harcourt to Lagos for this. So if this is not going to work, tell me this is not life or death. He was shocked. He actually told me that this is not like most Nigerians. Honestly, that was his words. This is not like most Nigerians. They are not, like, it's not life or death. If it's not going to work, tell me. I will quickly move on. Nothing spoil. My life will not end. So, your non-verbal communication, body language, posture, eye contact. See the posture on me, I'm still working on the posture. Oh no. Till today, I'm still working on posture. Because if you come into an environment and you sit like that is the only thing, but I don't even know how to say this in English now. And you sit as if you're dejected, life is not Okay, people will get that impression from you. There's a way you sit when you come, even stand. There's a way you stand in an environment and everybody is like, no, this person is put together, even if you're not truly put together, honestly, because none of us are really truly put together. But at least, we should have a level of put togetherness. And it should show by the way you stand, the way you sit, the way you talk, your posture, your body language. Very important. Very important. I remember that I walked into a meeting some years ago, and I guess I truly did not carry executive presence that day. I really didn't, because I was there to represent the chairman of ICANN Port Harcourt. But clearly, I did not carry executive presence that day because as I came in, nobody even noticed. I'm not saying I should have drawn attention immediately, but I walked in and the way the usher directed me to where to sit, it was like, please, it's not people like you we're looking for. Honestly, I did not carry executive presence that day. I'm so sure of it. And I'm one person that I don't know how to do all this. Do you know who I am? So I went and sat where they pointed me to. And when they were now doing the introductions from the high table, and they called on, Port Harcourt and District Society, the chairman, ably represented by, they called my name and I stood. If you see how this usher was shocked. This usher was like, this woman that I just, put to one corner like that. I stood up, walked majestically to the high table, sat. And unfortunately for that particular that day, he just had to, he was I think he had several things that made him come my way. I don't even know how that happened, but severally I kept seeing him, and he would pass me and be looking and be like, I'm misjudged, that kind of thing. So definitely I did not carry executive presence that day. Because if I did, they would have at least given me front seat, even if not at the high table. You understand? So your body language, and truly that day, I didn't want to do that assignment. My mind, everything was not really in going to represent the chairman that day. So I guess it showed in my face, maybe it showed in the way I was moving, but something about me that day did not scream executive presence. And so they gave me back seat almost until I had to be brought to the front. So your body language is important. Your posture, eye contact, very key. These are all the things that speak, that scream executive presence. Then confidence is very important. Behave in your value without arrogance. Look, it's not, let's say it's not hard. It's kind of hard, but believe in your value. Believe in your value. Believe in your worth without being arrogant about it. You don't have to be arrogant about it. I mean, like, for example, that day I knew I was there to represent the chairman of ICANN. I knew my worth, but I guess, well, I don't know. Something about that day did not work. But when the person told me to go and sit there, I did not begin to make noise about it. There was no need because I knew I would be recognized in that occasion ultimately. So believe in your value. Don't allow people to devalue you by what they do to you. That is part of carrying executive presence. Because they gave me backseat did not reduce that I came there to represent ICANN chairperson. It did not reduce from the fact that I was a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. It did not reduce that as at that time I was a finance and admin manager at a company. It did not change anything. The person just didn't recognize it. That's all. Maybe, like I said, because I didn't carry any executive presence that day. So believe in your value, but without arrogance. Know your worth as a person. Know it without being arrogant about it. Next is ethics. Live with integrity and consistency. People see these things whether we accept or we don't accept. Live with integrity. Let it be your life. Let it not just be something you do sometimes. Live with integrity and consistency. So these are the foundations of executive presence. One, poise. Two, respect. Three, emotional intelligence. Four, self awareness. Five, excellence. Six, nonverbal communication. Seven, confidence. And eight, ethics. So important. If you have these things, you will exude executive presence. People will see the confidence in you. People will see it. They will see the confidence in you and they will understand that this is a person of timber and caliber, as we say. So people, look, people are not really impressed by our loudness, how loud we are. That is not what impresses people. It's how grounded we are. The fact that this person is all that, and yet and yet they are still respectful of people. They still value others. They still respect people's emotions. I mean, that is what impresses people. It's not how loud we are. It's not because I made noise. Many a times the noise or the loudness of our personality is a minus. I actually like people to, me personally, I like people to underestimate me. So that will shock you. So executive presence, it requires you to have self-mastery. For you to exude executive presence, you must have self-mastery. You must have self-mastery. It is key. We want influence, but to gain it, we have to have self-mastery. That is the ability to govern your own thoughts, your own emotions, your habits, your responses. It is key. It is key for us to have and exude the executive presence we're looking for that gives us, influence, that gives us authority in whatever room we are. We must have self mastery. We must understand our thoughts. We must be able to not just understand, but govern our thoughts, govern our emotions, govern our habits, govern our responses. Self mastery is key. Even the Bible teaches us this. I think it's in the book of Proverbs. Um, it's in the book of Proverbs. I'm struggling to remember exactly where in Proverbs it says, um, "Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city." I believe that's what it says. I want to believe I got that right. Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self control than one who takes a city. So, yes, self mastery is key. Self mastery is key. You have to be able to self control before you can control others. You have to be able to self master before you can master others. You have to be able to self influence before you can influence others. But you cannot manage yourself. How will you influence others? How will you manage influence? You will not. You will struggle. You will struggle. So self mastery is key. Self mastery is key. People will always follow. Well, generally, not say always. People will generally follow leaders or someone who demonstrates competence, consistency, integrity, reliability. So you need to imbibe all that. All that needs to show without you saying a word, without you saying a word. And then, of course, by the time you speak, it should match up. Very important. By the time you now speak, it must match up. We can build executive presence. It's not as if it's something that is, there. It's not, I don't think anybody's born with it. Some people are. Yeah, some people are born with it. But it's something you can build. You can work on it. You can put in the efforts. And you begin to see that when you walk into a room, people do notice it. People notice that you carry this presence. I was in a program once. Now, I was not preaching, I was not speaking, nothing. But I walked in and I sat down. This one, nobody gave me a seat or anything. And I sat down and I noticed that, yeah, it was an usher. I'm trying to remember exactly so that I don't give us false information. I think it was an usher or someone, one of the people that was, in charge of that program. She kept coming near where I was. And I'm like, what is this person looking for? Why are you actually here? Why are you always roaming around me? And the point was that she felt I should be one of the people speaking or something. She had assessed me and I looked like I should be one of, not because of the way I dress, because if you know me, I don't dress outlandishly or anything. As you see me, this is basically how I look almost all the time. Even when I'm dressed up, the only thing you will see is, of course, I won't be wearing this shirt, but this is me. So, but something made her feel this lady should be, maybe she's one of the invited guests. So after a while, she did come up to me and ask. And I told her, oh no, I'm not one of the invited guests. As in, I'm not ministering, I'm not speaking, I'm here to learn. And she was like, you look like you should be one of our teachers. That is executive presence. It's something that you build. When you build confidence in yourself, you are confident in who you are. Nobody can take that away from you. Nobody, no matter how hard they try, they can't take it away from you. Oh, okay, okay. Thank you, Major. I see that you put up the Proverbs. Yes, Proverbs 16:32. Yes. It's better to be patient than powerful. It's better to have self-control than to conquer a city. That's the NLT version of it. Yes. Yeah, Kelechi, I see you on Facebook. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Major. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate. So, yes, executive presence is what we are talking about. When people meet you, your character should speak before you do. That is what executive presence is all about. Your character should speak before you do. And how do we build this executive presence? Because I said it can be built, it's not usually what you're just born with. You listen deeply to people. Listen deeply because it helps you understand. We talked about managing emotions and how you relate with others. Listen more deeply. Don't just listen surface listening to people. Pay attention. Elevate your standards. Don't be okay with where you are all the time. Elevate your standards. Step up. Step up. Act with intention. Don't just do things for the sake of let's just do. Act with intention and develop credibility consistently. These are the things that will help you build executive presence. When you listen more deeply, you understand people. You understand their emotions. You also understand your own emotions in that process also. When you elevate your standards, you grow your competence. You grow your competence. You are not you're not where you are mind wise today. You don't remain there forever. You improve. You grow your competence. You act with intention. You don't just do things for the sake of doing. You respond to people's actions. You don't react to people's actions. You respond. That is acting with intention. Then develop credibility consistently. Be a person of integrity. Let the integrity exude from your pores. Let it not just be that you say you're a person of integrity. Let it be seen. Let it be evident. Let it be clear that you're a person of integrity. Now, this is not, I'm not saying we should go and copy. Maybe we see somebody that we think exudes executive presence. You don't have to copy anyone else's style or anyone else's way of showing executive presence. It's not about you becoming someone else. It's about you becoming the best version of you. That version that God created you to be, becoming the best version of that person. That is what this executive presence is talking about. It's not really, it's not about being like someone else. You don't even have to follow anyone else's pattern per se. So it's not about being like someone else. It's really being that best version of you, that you that God created you to be. Be the best version of that person possible. Be the best version possible. That is what we are talking about. That is what executive presence is all about. It's allowing it's allowing your authority to flow from purpose. It's allowing your authenticity to flow from purpose, from understanding who you are. It's allowing all that, the confidence that you exude, to flow from purpose. Being the best version of you. That is what executive presence at its core is all about. People sense these things without you saying a word. Without you saying a word. So just check yourself. How do you sit when you enter a room? Do you sit like, let me just tell, don't know. Or do you sit like, look, whether they know it or not, I'm all that? How do you sit? Or you're standing, you walk into a room. I'm one person that if I walk into a room, I'm not a social butterfly. So I will not, begin to engage everybody. That is not me. I will make an attempt because I'm learning to be more social. But generally, I will not walk into a room and begin to talk to everybody. But I will not also walk into a room and become a wallflower and disappear into the room. No, I'll walk in and I'll assess the room. Yeah, I'll find my square root, as they say. I will know where to put myself. So, posture, how you stand, how you sit, making eye contact with people. Don't always look away from people. Look into people's eyes. You can learn a lot from looking into people's eyes. So, look into people's eyes, make eye contact. Your facial expressions, your energy. Do you give off? There was this thing that was raining at it, and what they call it? Oh, I've forgotten. Whether you give up main character energy. Yes. Do you give off main character energy? Are you giving off supporting cast energy? You can actually still give off supporting cast energy, but do it with confidence. We must not all be the main character. We can't be the supporting staff and yet carry more influence. I still don't forget. ugh, I'm taking. I said, I said I'll be making these things shorter, but look at me, I'm going on. But I need to give us this example. One of the places I worked, I was just the accountant. I was not the finance manager. There was a finance manager. I was not the admin manager, but I did my work, carried myself in such a way that people actually thought I was all that. They actually thought I was more than I was in the office, as in position wise. I taught myself things I needed to know. I ensured that I had competence. I learned new things. And if they don't tell you that I was just the accountant, you would assume that I was in a higher position because I began to exude influence. I began to even influence others who thought, they actually thought I had more authority than they, not knowing that some of them were even higher as in position than me. So main character energy is important. I think I like that expression. Main character energy is very important. Your energy is important in executive presence. So before you enter meetings, before you enter gatherings, before you enter conversations, let me not even say meetings, what do you want people to experience when they encounter you? What do you want people to experience when they encounter you? Always ask yourself this question, and then work on presenting that, whatever it is you want people to experience when they encounter you. That is executive presence. Should people encounter me and be comfortable? Should people encounter me and be confident? Work on it. Work on presenting that. That is executive presence. So, in conclusion, executive presence is not about being the loudest person in the room. You might even be the quietest person in the room and still exude executive presence. It's about becoming the most grounded person in the room, the most trustworthy possible person in the room. It's about, it's not about demanding respect from people. You shouldn't even actually demand respect from people. They should just disrespect you. They should just respect you. They should find you trustworthy and put that respect with it. It's not about having power over people. No. It's about having influence over people through your character. Through your character. Because really, influence begins long before you open your mouth. So, in this week, my challenge for you this week is walk with confidence, speak with clarity, lead with integrity, carry yourself intentionally, but always make up your mind. How do you want people to feel as they encounter you? What impression do you want to leave on people as they encounter you? And then work on developing that. And as we come to the end of this session, um, I wrote down some declarations once again. I think I'm enjoying having these declarations at the end of our sessions. So I'm going to post it, I will say it, and I advise, encourage that you say them also. Say them out loud to yourself, because I think that's how declarations work best, when you say them out loud to yourself. Not just that I say them in my head. Say them out loud to yourself. I think declarations work best that way. So I'm going to post the declaration. I've posted it on Facebook. Let me post it on Instagram also. Okay, I can see you on Instagram, Uchikalu. Thank you for joining me today. Okay. Let me also put it on YouTube. Okay. Okay, I just saw that the Instagram one cut off. Let me get the part that cut off. Then we'll say together as we close this session for today. Instagram, okay. All right, so yes, our declaration for this week. I carry confidence without arrogance. I lead with wisdom and integrity. My presence reflects purpose. My character strengthens my influence. I will own every room God places me in, not by raising my voice, but by living with excellence, authenticity, and grace. Let's say it again one more time. I carry confidence without arrogance. I lead with wisdom and integrity. My presence reflects purpose. My character strengthens my influence, and I will own every room God places me in, not by raising my voice, but by living with excellence, authenticity, and grace. Thank you all once again for joining me this afternoon. I hope I'm beginning to wonder if it looks like the declaration did not post on Facebook. Let me try it again because I'm looking there and I'm not seeing it. So let me just paste it again. I hope this time around that it comes through. I hope it comes through this time around. Please do let me know on Facebook if it came through because the first one I didn't see. Oh, okay. Now two of them are there. It's okay. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon. I want to believe that we learned something today. Please do share with me what you learned from this session today. Share with me in the comments. I will respond to as many as I can. I always respond to comments unless I didn't see it. But once I see it, I respond to it. Thank you once again. Do follow us on all our social media handles. Don't forget that part. Very, very important. Follow us on all our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe. All our videos are there on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I look forward to seeing us next week, Tuesday, right here on Growth Habits with Ngozi. Um, Let me find what we are talking about next week. Sometimes I have this so many weeks ahead that sometimes myself I lose sight. Honestly, I always try to plan ahead, and sometimes I don't know. It seems that I lose sight of where um, I am. So next week we're going to be talking about energy management and personal magnetism. Interesting. Yeah, I'm even looking forward to studying for that because, as you know, I have to read up to. I don't just come and talk blah blah blah. Energy management and personal magnetism. So see you all next week Tuesday right here on Growth Habits with Ngozi. Um, the time remains 12 noon Nigerian time. Thank you all and do have a lovely, lovely day. Bye.